It is a super Final Tuesday here at Black Hollywood Live's Political Culture. I'm your host, Drexel Heard. We're also talking the OPEC, and we've got a little bit of Trump and his African American. I am not his African American. See you in a second.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, Political Culture.
Hey guys, welcome to Black Hollywood Live's Political Culture. I am your host, Drexel Heard. You can follow me at Drexel Heard.
Oh. That's for the bad singing, though. You can find me on Twitter at Hey It's Lay, Instagram too.
You can find me at Sorrells.
And you can follow the show at BHL Polyculture. Use the hashtag BHLPC. We started this show off with Rachel Platten's fight song. We'll talk about why in just a little bit. How was your guys' weekend and week?
How was your weekend?
Yeah, B, tell us. Last week we talked about B's engagement, but then it turned into something very different.
Yes, it was a surprise. We ended up getting married this past week.
Congratulations.
Friday, yes, in front of my friends, in front of my family there in Malibu. So it was great.
I still didn't get the invite. I just got the Facebook. I just got the Facebook post
the tag after with the photos. Like, hey guys, no, ain't no hey. You know what was
she
funny
was like,
though?
Hey, I didn't get you in.
Friday, I almost called you, but I was so tired. I was like, nah, I'm happy she didn't send it because I'm tired. Okay, so I'm gonna take a nap.
Right.
No,
I mean,
it was horrible
we might
weather.
not have showed up.
Yeah,
but.
no, y'all, like, honestly, like, it was really bad. First of all, Malibu never looks ugly. And and then all of a sudden, we go up there, and it's like this rain cloud, and it's so cold.
It's been gloomy lately.
It is. So if you look at the pictures, they look so dark. But other than that, though,
you look beautiful. I love your two-piece. Yeah.
Thank you. So it turned out really nice.
That's very nice. That's very nice. So listen, it is the Final Super Tuesday here in America. And the Final Super Tuesday for primaries right here in America. Tonight we've got California. Here in California, we're voting New Mexico, New Jersey, North Dakota, the Dakotas, and Montana.
Yeah.
So let's start out with some of the results real quick. So right now, well, let's back up for a second because yesterday,
What happened
the Associated Press called almost the entire race for Hillary Clinton based on a couple of things. Based on unpledged superdelegates that they kind of called. Do you guys think that AP should have called it that early? I have my own opinions, but I want to know what you guys think first. Do you guys think the AP should have called it that early?
I mean, people have been calling it, for a while now.
Yeah.
But as far as officially calling it, I'm not sure. I guess it's easy to predict what's going to happen because how close Hillary Clinton is to reaching the amount of delegates that she needs to officially be the Democratic nominee. I would have waited. I think that they should have waited just because there are still states, like that's almost discouraging for the people who are going out there and voting, and I don't think it's fair to any of the other parties. Like, if she got it, she got it. We don't need to announce it because we're going to announce it today because we know that's what's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe they just got too excited. They're ready for it to be over, like I am. Like when you said it's the Final Super Tuesday. Yes! Like, thank you.
I mean, after this, we really only have one more contest after this District of Columbia, and we already know that, just looking at the polls, that would have been a Hillary Clinton strong.
I'm going to be honest. When I first seen AP announce that, immediately I thought of Drexel. I'm like, oh my gosh.
He's over there losing his mind.
Is popping a bottle of wine right now. He is celebrating there at the apartment.
It's so funny because I was on my way to the Greek Theater here in Los Angeles. I was going to a Hillary Clinton rally.
Of course you were.
It was. Listen, that rally was Christina Aguilera, Stevie Wonder, John Legend, Cher was there.
I was jealous.
Ricky Martin was shaking his bonbon. It was just an amazing concert, and just surrounded by a very large sold-out group of Hillary Clinton. Jamie Foxx actually opened the show.
Did he?
He was singing.
I didn't know he opened.
I didn't even know.
Andrea Day opened the show singing, and then Jamie Foxx came out and just kind of talked to the crowd, got the crowd hyped up, and so it was very nice. And his daughters were there. His daughter just graduated college here at USC. So and so she talked for a second, and Hillary came out a little bit later, but nobody talked about what the AP had called.
Yeah.
And by nobody talked about it, they were just like, yeah, the AP called it, but let's
continue. Let's go with the program.
Let's remember what the
let's go with the program.
Right after the AP, sent that tweet out or just sent the breaking news out, the Clinton campaign kind of responded back and said, "Listen, hey, we're flattered, but
it isn't over
it's not
until
over
it's
yet."
over.
Yes.
I thought that was very classy.
Yeah.
So. And I think what I took away from that, and I hope that a lot of people took away, because I think people were confused as, well, the AP called her the nominee. Well, that's not what they called her. They called her the presumptive nominee, just as they have called Donald Trump the presumptive nominee.
Right, until
it's confirmed.
he reached
until the votes are on the floor. And there was the Bernie Sanders campaign came out and said, oh, well, you're ignoring the will of the voters. And I'm like, Bernie, bro. The voters have kind of spoken. 3 million more of them.
I think it's more so not the voters in whole, his voters. Like, because if for the people who are feeling the burn, like for the people who are supporting him, it might not be much. Drexel, calm down and fix your neck. I said for his voters. Drexel was like.
What? But no, I'm confused as what that meant. Like
the people who are in favor of him, the people who have not yet voted yet, who are in favor of him.
Right.
So swaying them, because if they meant that Hillary Clinton had now become the nominee, then the people who were going to the polls today, what was the point?
But if you really, here's what, especially in California, and I think that people forget that, yes, we're at this point we knew what the way that this process was going to go.
Yeah.
But if I looked at my district in particular, I've got the 39th district, a close race in 39th district. I've got a close race in the 29th district. Kamala Harris is on the ballot. And what the people don't understand about California is that it's the top 2 vote getters. I don't know if I mentioned that last week, but it's the top 2 vote getters in the Senate race, no matter Republican or Democrat, so it's a down the ballot.
We talked about it.
It's a down the ballot thing.
Yeah.
So regardless if you're out there voting for Bernie, regardless if you're out there voting for Hillary, and I said it on Facebook this morning, Rocky De La Fuente, whoever you're voting for, that's all fine and dandy. However, that's not going to change the final result, but it will have a huge impact on these down the ballot races. And if you're not voting for Kamala Harris, Loretta Sanchez, or any of the Democrats on there, or any of the Republicans on there, then they're just not going to win. They're not going to be able to compete in November.
Right.
The same thing for those state assembly members and those state senators that are running in the district too. So I think that it's very important, for people to continue to vote. It might not. You might be exercising your right to vote for president. But your vote is more effective at the state and local level than it is going to be at this point on the national level, just based on the way the delegates are out. So Hillary Clinton just tonight has won the state of New Jersey. That was not a big surprise, and is leading in New Mexico right now. And North Dakota is actually the only caucus tonight, so I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie Sanders won North Dakota, and Hillary Clinton is leading in South Dakota as well. So, but one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys, because I talked to somebody earlier, I mean, obviously there was a lot of conversation today just about what the AP had said. But one of the things that really struck me, and I had an epiphany, was why Bernie Sanders was actually losing this race, and it was shocking to people. They're like, well, how is his message not resonating? Or how is his message resonating and he's not winning? And I said, because I feel like his message, that he's giving the wrong message. He's not giving a clear message of how to achieve what he wants. Right. So it's not reflecting voters in general. Like, yeah, you might draw some big crowds, but those big crowds aren't actually going back to vote for you. Like, I want to hear what you're saying, just like I want to hear what Donald Trump's saying, because he's crazy. But it's not being, like, once you go into a voter's booth, I feel like voters make a switch. Yeah, do I see him as a commander-in-chief? So I want to know if you guys feel that his message resonated in the way that it was supposed to be, because And to look at it, if you look at New Jersey right now, Hillary Clinton's up by almost 40,000 votes. At what point do you switch? Do you say, oh, well, I didn't. How did I not reach an equal number of voters?
Mm-hmm. I think for Bernie, and we've been saying this since the beginning of the show when it started, is that Bernie, I'm the opposite. I think he does have a good message. I think it's the fact that he doesn't have a plan of action. I think that's where a lot of people are like, and we've talked about that before, where he's doing these great promises, and he's showing it to the people, but there's no plan of action. And then I think there's other factors, which is sad to say. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, he's really, really old. We don't want to know if he'll be here for the next 8 years. I think there's a lot of different factors for Bernie where when people go in to vote, they're like still kind of on the fence about him,
I mean, outside of us, because I swear we broke this down once before, that although he is an elder Caucasian man, some people
I've never go ahead. I've never looked at it like that, but yeah.
With the message that he was giving, a lot of people found him relatable, and not relatable as in we are the same, relatable as in we're fighting for the same cause, we believe in the same things. However, being that you've been fighting this cause for so long, like one of the things that I guess pushed his message was when we saw that picture of him back in the day when he was younger. He was one of the people on the front line, fighting for civil rights. Right. Everybody got excited about that. It's like, oh my gosh, we have the same interests. However, if you've been doing that for that long, where's the rest of the work?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
where's the proof?
Why is there a gap? And why is that picture like the only thing that resonates? Why isn't it more? So I think that has a lot to do with it. And you have to remember that the people that were resonating with his message, they're not necessarily the people that are going out and voting. So the ones who are going out and voting are the people who don't really care to see him as president, don't really relate to him, don't really care about what he's saying. They want to see more, they want to do more. And I think when it comes between Hillary and him, her resume speaks louder volumes than his because of the action that she has continuously been taking throughout the years. And even in 2008 when she was running for president, it wasn't like she had the worst numbers ever.
Right.
So she was doing fairly well. So now that she's not going against Obama, everybody's like, okay, well maybe we should give her a chance. She's showing persistence. Right. She's showing that she really wants this. She's not going to give up our nation, and that could be what it is that sways those voters. And
right. Yeah, I just because I think we've talked about it before. And obviously we've talked about it with friends, and we've heard like, oh well, he's got this revolution happening, and people are people are grasping this message, and that's when I look at the votes and I'm just like, it does not match up what you're telling me. You can call voter suppression all day long, but at the end of the day, if you are bringing in new voters, fine. That's great. That's amazing. These people were never going to vote Democrat anyway. You're bringing in new independents into the Democratic Party. That's a very different thing. They are not bound to the Democratic Party. But if you are not also convincing the Democrats that have been there that you are a better candidate, then that is why he is losing this race, because he has not swayed every other Democrat on the other side. Or that's why he's lost this race, because he has not swayed every other Democrat on the other side. It's the same thing with superdelegates. Superdelegates have had from April to May of this year to change their side. It wasn't like they were bound to Hillary Clinton. It wasn't like they were holding them hostage. They have their own interests, they have their own states, and they could very well make their own decision. And they had a lot of time to do that. And we have not seen a single crossover. We've seen a cross back. We've seen a Bernie Sanders superdelegate cross back. We've seen unpledged kind of support Bernie Sanders, but we have never seen a Hillary Clinton superdelegate cross over to Bernie Sanders. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. What do you guys think that Bernie Sanders' next step should be?
He wants to be the vice president.
Oh yeah. And I mean, no. He wants. You see me say he wants. Now, we didn't say I didn't say
I think he should be the vice president. Right. I said,
do you really think that so you think that he wants to be vice? I've never got that from Bernie Sanders. I don't think that he wants to be vice president. I think he wants to be in some sort of. I think he wants to change the platform a bit enough to make a difference in the Democratic Party, but I can't imagine him actually wanting to be vice president of the United States.
Of course he doesn't want to be the vice president, but if he falls short of president...
I feel like he wouldn't say no if Hillary came to him and was like, "Look, man, I see you lost, but I'm taking you on." I don't think he would.
Would she even be like, "Oh, hey, Bernie, let's be friends"?
No, I
or
don't.
at least some type of. I feel like he'd be happy if at least some type of in the Hillary administration. I think maybe not vice president, maybe some position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about where
he would be. Just like, look, we just trying to beat him. Hillary's
back in Vermont. I mean, I think that the state of Vermont has enjoyed Bernie Sanders. I'm not entirely sure how effective he has been in that state as a senator, and that goes back to what you were saying just about, if you're fighting for $15 minimum wage, Vermont doesn't have a $15 minimum wage, and you weren't out there fighting for it.
Correct.
You want single payer. Vermont tried wanted. You didn't push for it, and it just didn't work in the state of Vermont. So everything that you're pushing now, you haven't been pushing onto your state. You haven't been, trying to rally your governor, your state legislators. So,
and we can't say he hasn't been trying. We don't know, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the progress. You haven't done it.
Well, I think if he wanted to team up with, Patrick Leahy, his old, his colleague who used to be the senior senator of Vermont, I think that there could have actually been some changes in Vermont if he actually wanted that. Yeah. It's the same thing with gay marriage in Vermont. People could talk all day about Bernie's stance on marriage equality back in the day, but when it came time for Vermont to want to be on the forefront, that's what it was. He was like, I don't know if Vermont should be in this fight.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so obviously you don't want your state to be a part of this, but you want the rest of the nation to follow suit. So it's like, I don't know what.
Right. And I feel like he has to, and I think Bernie has to really touch the millennials. I think a lot of his, like we were saying, a lot of his proof was from way back. You know what I mean? It's showing what he's done and just walking with Martin Luther King and things like that. And a lot of, newer, younger people now are like, what are you doing now that we can feel like we've, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's where he's kind of struggling.
And the only modern, to your point, the only modern thing that they bring up is his Iraq war, floor speech. That's the only. I mean, that's really the only time that we've seen that, because, when you've got things that came up, in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. I mean, there wasn't much there.
I agree. Elayna, look. Elayna, what do you have to say? What do you say?
Sorry. So
what I can say though is that I think, and I don't want to say millennials because I know millennials are the ones who actually do some of the work. But I know when it comes to Bernie and his camp that a lot of people are almost like they're almost like him when they do more talking. They engage in the conversation. They engage in the hashtags on social media. Yes. They engage in all of the conversation about him and how they love him and how they want him, but then they don't go do anything about it either. So,
and that's what I was just about to say, because if you go down my time feed, there's a lot of my friends who are really like feeling the burn.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought that everybody
really,
was like
a lot of the millennials are really
Bernie, but
and so it's almost like a trend. Like, are you really just doing it just to input yourself in the conversation on social media, or are you really going out there and casting your vote and really supporting him?
I know quite a few people who do that.
But that's what I'm saying. So sometimes it's more so that, I mean, from day one, we've encouraged people to do their research. Do your research, get an opinion for yourself, get some facts so that you can formulate a strong opinion. Correct. And I think that people aren't doing the research. So if we are buddy and you start going Bernie, and I did none of the research and I need to, and I'm trying to be into politics, or I need to be voting, then I'll be like, yeah, I trust you. You going for Bernie, I'm going for Bernie. Right. But then I'm not going to go vote.
Exactly.
Do you guys think that President Obama should endorse Hillary Clinton this week?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm going to go out and say yes. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say yes about it.
Let me tell you why I say no. I mean, okay, let me tell you what I say.
So tell me what you say, girl.
Let me tell you what I say. When Hillary becomes the official Democratic nominee, I think he should put his support toward her.
So you should wait exactly. So you think he should wait until after?
So you basically want the Democratic Party to be at a standstill between now and a month from now.
Well, the December primary is in...
The what?
The DC.
The DC primary is January.
I said
June
December.
14th.
That's so funny.
I was like, huh?
It's June 14th. So
14th.
that's a week. That's not a month.
I'm talking about the convention. DC, we already know where DC is going to go.
Okay, so right after
DC primary?
Yeah, right before the convention.
What's the point? DC has like 5 delegates. They're not even having enough to sway any election.
You asked me. you said, what do you think?
Oh yes, okay.
And I'm
so you think that the president should wait until after the primaries?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I think
he should do it today.
I think that Hillary Clinton will be at the Brooklyn Navy Yard tonight, giving her grandiose acceptance, like, "Hey, this is my time" speech, even though the AP called it last night. Speech, which sucks for her, by the way, because it should have been like a moment of joy. Now she's got to like, hey, this gonna happen. It should have been like the states put her over. Like it was messy. The AP messed it up.
I was gonna say so you feel like he
messed it up for Hillary Clinton. And
so now she can't celebrate.
Now she can't really celebrate in the way that she wanted to.
But you could do it for her.
I've been.
Oh, he's definitely been doing it down our timeline.
I voted today.
Yes,
cast my ballot today, and. But I said something last night. I said, it'd be great if Barack Obama just showed up in Brooklyn tonight. He's in New York.
And just did his little
He'll be in New York,
walkout.
but apparently there's no plans on them meeting.
He'll be like,
while they're in New York.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean, and Bernie, listen. This is Barack.
No, Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Bernie said, no.
Okay, I'm done.
I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out. Bernie, I need you to get out.
I know, you just need to
He's like,
bow out graciously. It's over.
Nah, bruh.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie was on the phone to President Obama. Nah, bruh. Who are you talking to?
He said, Barack said, make like Hillary and drop out.
Nah, bruh.
So yeah, but I think that had an impact on. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that from what I understand, I think the Bernie camp is split right now. Ted Devine says it's time to reevaluate. Jeff Weaver, who is like a little nuts, has said we want to stand. We're going to intervention. No, whatever. And I think Bernie's leaning more towards the Jeff Weaver side than he is the Ted Devine side. Yeah. And that's unfortunate. And it will be unfortunate for Bernie Sanders, I feel like in the long run, because you got people that are waiting. They're like ready. They want him to come back so he can mend that fence. It's like Ted Cruz. They got to go back and mend some fences with those people. So yeah, he doubled down this weekend. So we'll be watching those primaries for the rest of the night. Speaking of the primary, Donald Trump last week.
Oh, Trump.
My favorite.
Boy, the favorite topic to talk about.
So he came out and he was doing a speech here in California, and he was talking about, his African-American voters and voter and
non-supporter. Let's be clear.
Yeah, and he looked over and he was talking at his rally, and he said, "Look at my African-American over there." Oh my gosh! I was really confused.
I'm sorry, you're what?
Right.
That's literally what I said. I was just like, I was like, you're what? And let me tell you what made it worse. This weekend, I tried to catch up on Roots. And it's like in 4 parts. Yeah. So I had to sit there and watch it like back to back to back. Right. And I was taking a break, and it just so happened to be the same day that Trump.
It made you feel bad.
I was pissed. Talk about, I don't usually get upset. Like, I mind my business. I don't really care. Like, I honestly don't really care. And I know most people, when it comes to politics, most people don't care. When it comes to Trump, I definitely don't care. So I was just like, whatever. Mm-hmm. But because I was so deep into it, I'm just like,
you were so deep.
I'm like, every time they tried to call Kintakute Toby, he was like, no, my name's Toby, whatever. So I take a pause. I see Trump, my African American, and now I'm upset because he tried to act like he didn't know what it was that he was saying. He kept saying it like it was cool.
Right.
And he barely makes facial expressions, but the facial expressions he was making was like, yeah, it's all good. That's my African American. And it was just like, how stupid.
But you know what he wanted to say.
Right. Like, how stupid can you be?
Right.
It's just.
Right.
And then his camp put out a statement saying, or not his camp, I'm sorry. So then I watched The View, right?
I love The View, by the way.
And Raven Simone, our good old pal Raven,
just like Stacey Dash.
She had comments to say, and she basically was saying, it's not his fault that he said that he's from a different time where they spoke like that. Like, these were her comments on The View. If you haven't watched it, go see it for yourself. Like, she was just speaking stupid. Like,
we're talking about the same person who said Africa was a country. So let's just, we really can't. Raven, you really,
So then I got upset because she was making an excuse for him to for him to even say that statement, saying he comes from a different time and whatever, he's back then. But this is my thing: if he is running for president, he's going to be president, then he needs to be with the current times. And in current times, it's not okay for you to say my African. You don't own anybody. You can call your children your children, but you don't own anybody.
And I think that there were a couple of the RNC has had some trouble keeping its minority staffers. Mm-hmm. There's been kind of this mass exodus from a couple of them from February till now. There's been this kind of progressive shift out of the RNC into other campaigns, into state houses and different things like that.
Yeah.
Recently, the RNC lost two African-American heads of their on their staff. Orlando Watson, who was the communications director for African-American media, and Crystal Hartsfeld. She was the national director for African-American strategies and outreach. And she's gone on to work for the governor of Maryland. Mm-hmm. So they left a long time ago. Yeah. And then last week, they lost their Hispanic head of media relations for Hispanics, and then they had to replace her with somebody who didn't like Trump in the first place, who worked for Jeb Bush. So really, they're having this trouble, and I think Reince Priebus had a phone call with Donald Trump a couple of days ago, and Donald Trump kind of gave this half-hearted apology about Judge Curiel over the week today. And then Mitch McConnell came out, he's just, all the Republicans are just piling on Donald Trump about these Judge Curiel comments. At this point, I continue to be unafraid of Donald Trump winning the presidency.
Really? You've just gotten that just so used to it. You're just like, you know what?
I'm just like, you know what? If the Republicans continue down this path, because what do you think the Republicans are going to do? Are they going to go back? Are they going to be like, you know what, Donald Trump, at the convention, we're just not going to go with you? What would that do?
I just think he's an embarrassment. And it's just, I keep thinking that just because we just touched on this back in Cinco de Mayo for the episode where he was talking about the taco and I love Mexicans. And it's just, he just puts his foot in his mouth.
Do you think the Republicans should
drop completely out of the race?
No. Just be Bernie and Hillary? No, I'm saying, do you think the Republicans should, at the convention, rethink their, for the sake of their party and for the sake of the country, say, you know what, we get it, you won, but we really have to think about the future, and we really can't vote for you on the floor?
They definitely should, but they're
Absolutely.
not.
They're
do you
not.
think they should, or do you think that's overturning the will of their Republican voters?
That's what I'm saying. They should, but they're not, because of the message that it was sent.
Exactly.
Because you don't wait until we get to the convention or after the convention
we got a whole bunch of eyes
to have
watching
this conversation. There's so much that could have happened. Even when it comes to John Kasich and Ted Cruz and all, the people who dropped out, who still have a chance. They're not promoting or anything, or campaigning. Right. However, they can still become the nominee for the Republican Party. So if you still have that as in your back pocket as an option, then you guys should have came together and supported them and made something happen. You didn't try hard enough if Trump is still there. It's no way. So even if they do come together and say, okay, listen, we have to do something for the party, you should have already been thinking that. Because at this point, what the message is showing me is that you support him. Even though they've been fighting and they've had a lot of conflict, he's still going further and further and progressing, along in this race.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you overturn, Trump was winning landslides, and I don't know how you effectively and overturn the will of a lot of voters. That's kind of like in the Democratic race. If you're winning in the popular vote, what makes you think that you're going to overturn just anybody? If Bernie Sanders was leading the popular vote, same thing with, it was different for Hillary and Barack Obama, because Hillary was leading and Barack was leading in pledge delegates, and they were split.
Right.
But now you're leading in all three. and Trump was also leading in all three. There was no way there's no way to go back on that and say, oh well, psych.
They're going to shoot themselves in the leg with that. If they try to overturn it, it's just going to be more harmful than it will be trying to fix it. Like, there's no control damage here.
I will say this, in the state of North Carolina was also having a kind of a primary tonight. The first person to ever endorse Donald Trump was Renee Elmers out of the 2nd District of North Carolina. She actually lost her primary tonight. And she actually beat Clay Aiken 2 years ago. Everybody remembers that race. Clay Aiken was running for Congress in North Carolina. Renee Elmers beat, she was the incumbent. She won her seat back. And now she has lost her primary to the GOP. So maybe this is the start of a Trump effect. Maybe some GOP. I don't know. I don't know what you guys. I mean, maybe we're starting to see these people being primaried out because they supported Donald Trump, and so I'll be very interested to see what happens to her. I think they got a lot of soul searching to do between now and
not soul searching.
Help him, Jesus.
A lot of damage control, which I think
soul searching.
And then last week, Paul Ryan actually came out and endorsed Donald Trump.
Yes.
But then the next day, you had the Judge Curio comments. Look at it. Like, I don't know if you guys can see the photo of Paul Ryan just sitting there. He's got like this.
I know, he looks like
that's not the picture, but I feel like that's what he thinks every time he has to think of Donald Trump. But then the next day, he immediately had to say, backtrack, not on his endorsement, but
how you really feels about it.
But then today he had a press conference and he was just like, these comments are racist. These comments are indefensible. That's what he said. And that's hard. But he didn't outright say, oh, I'm going to unendorse, which Senator Mark Kirk unendorsed Donald Trump today. So I don't know what's happening on that side anymore.
I was reading one of my one of the news things that come to my phone, and I died laughing because when Paul Ryan came out and when he's back on Trump's side, all of a sudden the news channel they compared it to Donald Trump and Paul Ryan being like Regina George and Gretchen Wiener from Mean Girls. They're they secretly they hate each other. They're on the same team, and they not so secretly hate each other because we know that they don't kind of get along. But then they're on the same team, so it's just like y'all friends or y'all not friends? Like, what is it?
Do you think Paul Ryan's gonna give him some carbs to eat? Just kidding. Mean Girls.
Give him a whole bar.
Just real quick on the primary tonight, Bernie Sanders is actually leading in North Dakota caucus by a whopping 40% right now. But that's not surprising. It's a caucus, and he does really well in caucuses, and so like I said, we'll continue to watch that. The only other thing that happened last week was President Obama endorsed Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairman of the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders had, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Bernie Sanders endorsed her opponent. So I think this is a clear sign. So let me know what you think. If this is a clear sign that the president is, leaning, at least what I thought was leaning towards Hillary Clinton. Just a Hillary Clinton endorsement for, endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz. What do you guys think of that? I mean, I like Debbie. I like her as a congresswoman.
I do as well. I think that she's very proactive. Sometimes I think she's cool. I think she's okay. I wouldn't be mad. She could have it. She could do it.
She can have her congressional seat.
She can have that. No, but that's a good point, though. I think that Obama is making the steps to kind of give everybody where he's leaning towards. He's not outright. I think it's going to take a little bit more time before he says I'm endorsing Hillary. But he's kind of dropping little subtle hints.
That's why I said he should wait.
It's kind of taking it.
I think it'll really depend on. I think that there would have probably been an easier time for the president to endorse this week if the AP hadn't called it last night. Then
exactly. Then it looks like, is it rigged? It comes too much.
Or was the vote going to be, people do get discouraged, like we said at the top of the show. People do get discouraged about that kind of stuff, and you do want people to be engaged, and how is that going to affect the vote tonight? So I'm sure the president is looking at that. So we'll be watching Debbie Wasserman Schultz's race in Florida, and all the Florida races, especially since they're talking Marco Rubio might be coming back into the fray. I do not know. But anyway, internationally, We got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So basically, nationally and internationally, we are saying RIP OPEC. And you're probably like, what is OPEC? And like translate that for me. Basically, OPEC stands for the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. And it's a group of 12 countries that together produce half of the world's crude oil. So you notice like the gas prices have been very low and they have been consistently low. And that's because there has been more oil supply than there has demand, which is good for us, and that makes us happy. However, OPEC has now decided that they want to join up with they want to join up with other countries now to bring in more demand, meaning our gas prices are going to go higher. And we know that Obama's mission, half of it was to keep our prices steady, keep them affordable, and make sure that we can do it. So basically what ended up causing OPEC's death, or why we may no longer be getting our supply from them, is it started back in 2004 when they started to protect the oil and trying to conserve it so that we can have the low prices. But then they basically got greedy. OPEC as the company.
An oil company got greedy? That's surprising.
They basically got greedy and wanted more because business has been slower because we're not more in demand. And that's not a bad thing. I think that everybody is happy across the board. I mean, maybe not in the foreign countries, but at least in America we are. And I live in America, so I'm happy. You know, if America is happy, I'm happy.
But you know, there is a lot of. It was so funny you said that. There is one of my friends. She had posted, and she's like, "I know everybody's happy about lower gas, at the gas station." She's like, "But that's putting my fiance out of work. Like he hasn't been to work, and that really slows down." And I didn't even think of that because I'm happy. I'm like, I'm seeing $2 at the gas pump. I'm like, yes, I can put my little $10 in. I'm good. But when I see it, I'm like, wow. In a way, you don't think about the people as far as job wise that they affect, that, and so that's kind of like a down part about it too.
We definitely want them to have their jobs, and we definitely don't want to put anyone out of business. So we just need to find a way for it to be cohesive enough for the both of us. But OPEC is not a fan of how the U.S. how the U.S. has been passing out their gas. So the way that we as a country have been distributing the gas amongst the states and etc., OPEC is not happy with that, and I think that's what's taking away their profit, which is why they have become more hungrier and more greedy to try to make our gas prices go up. So you might want to stay up to date with that, because if you see the gas prices shooting through the roof, it is because OPEC is trying to come back from the dead.
And we will be piling up in the car together.
Like, I mean, I almost rather, like, if they're going to be greedy, I don't want them to screw us over as a country. So I almost rather, if we need to part ways before they come back, and it's just something devastating to us and the people. So
do you think Americans, is my question, do you think Americans are going to be surprised? Because really by the summertime, generally, ever since like a few years, the prices go up very high during the summertime. So do you think people will notice that it's this going, or do you think it's like, oh, it's just summertime, stuff's going to go up to $5?
The problem with that is OPEC is actually the people who are the company that decides how much we pay at the pump. It's up to them. And that decision alone not only affects us, but it affects us globally. It affects us in entirety. So we want to have a good relationship with them, and we want to keep it, we want everything to be cordial and copacetic so that they don't make our prices go up, so that they don't. We never know. Like a lot of times people just get hungrier. Then you eat with your eyes, and I think that's what's happening right now. They were so used to making a certain profit or having a certain profit that this steady pace and this steady ease is not making them happy. And it could not even be them on a lower level. But you have the people who are high up in the company who are like, okay, we need more, we need to do more. So I thought that it was really important to share that and just make us more aware that if we start seeing, because a lot of times when we see the prices go up, we start getting mad. Obama said he was gonna put the gas prices down, or that's literally our reaction. And I had no idea that there was a company that was responsible for what happens, and that it was this whole distribution process. I had no idea. So I thought that was very important to share, and even learning more about how the countries keep the prices low was beneficial to how I approach the gas station, how I look into it. So and
that's so funny that you started, because that's so funny you said that, because in Texas when I was there, that's Houston is like the oil, you know what I mean? And so our prices are pretty cheap, like $1 something, Texas. Yes. But when I moved here, I didn't even think of that. I'm thinking like, good old California, boy, and all these prices are up. So I just assumed like everything's expensive, so gas is gonna be expensive too.
Yeah.
So knowing that piece is just very important for people to know where your money's going from or why it's 2 something, 3 something, you know, just for
and really who's responsible for it? Because then you know, when you don't have the knowledge of what's happening, or that there is even in a company, or that there even is controversy, you start speaking ignorant comments and you start getting upset, and it's really nothing that we can do.
I'll just use my Ralph's card and
or the Bonds card.
So the Bonds card to get cheaper gas. I'm wondering if you know, if our stance on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, our relationship with Saudi Arabia, because, you know, I think we have a really you know, touch and go relationship with Saudi Arabia in terms of our gas prices, in terms of barrels that we get.
I was about to say that,
and, you know, we are trying, and on our dependence on foreign oil, and trying to be independent here in the country. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects OPEC and their future, and how we start moving towards eco-friendly cars. Whether or not they're electric cars, you know, whether or not they're, you know, what are those, like dual?
where you can like you can charge your car and get gas.
You know what's interesting about that? You know how most of our cars are not made here in the U.S. at all. So when I mentioned OPEC, how they're made up of 12 countries, the biggest conflict with that is all 12 countries aren't on board with keeping the gas prices low. Like countries like Venezuela, like they need the prices to go high, the gas prices to go high, because that's how they make the money for their government. That's how they fund their economy.
You're taxing the gas. You need that money back.
Right. And so even if we do move to completely eco-friendly cars, those are, you know, we do want to preserve our planet. We do want to preserve our world, although I try to be selfish with America. We do want to preserve our world. So we do have to think about, like, you know, people who have families that live in the other countries like Venezuela and Algeria, and in places like that, who are going to be without jobs, without homes. Like, you know, their economies are going to crash. So it's literally a global issue.
I think America is probably, I mean, you know, whoever the president's going to be, hopefully a Democrat president. Obviously, we have been leading that charge, so we'll probably take those first steps. That's very interesting. I didn't know that much about OPEC, but obviously I will certainly be driving down the road. Elayna told me to watch these gas prices.
Look at them going up.
243, not 240, 280. So I'll have to take my Ralph's card back to the Ralph's thing. Thanks, Elayna. B, what do you got on trending topics?
Oh boy, it is a lot of stuff going on this week, guys. So we're back talking about Trump again, because he can't just seem to stay out the news, obviously. So, so BuzzFeed, which is a huge digital platform, as everyone knows, they do news, they do food, they do everything. And so they were originally doing Trump ads, and they literally pulled out this week out of a $1.3 million contract they have with Trump, and said
it was an advertising deal.
It was an advertising deal. And, you know, the CEO came out and said, due to hazardous nature of Donald Trump's campaign, the company is terminating their advertising agreement with GOP. And I'm like, wow. And he was just saying that there's been so much controversy around just putting his ads on or having his name on something, and people, you know, leaving nasty comments. And so it literally took BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed is huge. I mean, they're a global company. And so that was a really big loss for Trump. Now
that I think about it, you know, I haven't even, you know, like on Facebook, the BuzzFeed video, the life hacks be there. Ever since this whole race started, I haven't seen any BuzzFeed videos and stuff. So I wonder if people have like literally been boycotting and stopped sharing, and, you know,
you really have probably seen like a few food ones, but like as far as their like big
BuzzFeed
news,
usually BuzzFeed is taking over my timeline.
I used to have the BuzzFeed app.
Really?
I used to read BuzzFeed all the time. Just do the little, you know,
the quizzes, the little quizzes.
I used to be like, what color am I today?
Or no, what do I want to eat for dinner?
Right. What Harry Potter character do you align most with?
What Harry Potter character am I? No, but I just thought that was very interesting that, you know, they're not pulling out. I'm not saying pro Hillary, but I'm just saying that it's never happened with BuzzFeed. They've pretty much let any presidency, you know, these last few years run their campaigns, or even, and so it literally took for Trump to be like, you know what, Trump, you're just too outrageous. We can't afford to have your stuff out there. And I'm like, Trump, what's up?
Well, you also saw, you know, Trump has his golf course, and they do like one of the PGA tours on his golf course. That PGA tour one of the PGA actually pulled their golf tournament from his golf course.
I saw that.
Like, I mean, I think it's having, and I said this today. I was talking to somebody at lunch today, and I was saying how I think that Trump was they were like, do you think, is that old thing, well, Trump was probably in it because Hillary and they were conspiring together. And I was like, no, I don't think that was it. But I think it had a lot to do with the brand, like how protective he wanted to grow his brand. He wanted the brand name because he could say he ran for president. He was president of Canada, and everybody wanted Trump, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Now, and I'm saying that because we've seen with Trump University in the past week how protective he was of Trump University and how he was like, well, I'm going to come back and, Trump University is going to come back and blah, 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 and this judge is Mexican and he's unfair and blah, 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 even though this judge has ruled more in his favor than ever in this particular case over the past 2 years. So I have seen, I don't know how you guys feel, but I have seen Trump try to just protect his brand more than he has the country.
He's always been in it for entertainment. Always been in it to make his name bigger so that people can be talking. Like, that's nothing new to us.
And it's not like his voters are going to be buying Trump steaks or going to Trump Casino in Vegas or going to Trump Tower in New York City. Like, they're just not going to those places.
I don't want to speak this, but, if he ever did become president, after day 2, everyone who ever voted for him, like, this country will burn down. I promise you they will set it on fire because they're going to be like, Trump, what are you doing? Trump, you said, like...
I think he would be impeached within the first 100 days if that was happening.
So he definitely took the L. He's been taking the L. So what's other interesting is that Japan, they came out and said that they're banning the U.S. Navy from drinking alcohol, which I thought was pretty interesting, Drexel, because I know you come from a military family, you're military brat, and so they were just saying that there has been a lot of U.S. Navy members overseas when they're there in Japan that literally, after they clock out, do their thing, they go into, the bars, they get drunk, and they do drunk driving, they've killed people, so it's a lot. And so Japan, their people have been out there, like, literally boycotting, putting up all their signs. I don't know if they can see. Yeah, they're there. So, how do y'all feel about that? That should they ban them from drinking alcohol? I personally, look, y'all are fighting for our country. Y'all deserve a little break to get a drink of wine. Or I think it's about moderation. I think that's really what it is as far as.
That's hard to say because I know that when you first go into the military, like you go through training and stuff like that, you aren't allowed to drink. When you're going through like tech school and stuff, you're not allowed to drink. So there are times when you aren't allowed to drink, but these people who are in the military, they are, they've took on the responsibility of protecting our country and fighting for our country, but they also are regular people, like just like you and I.
Exactly.
They just were brave enough to go do it. So sometimes you do need to take the edge off. Now, as far as them being completely banned from drinking, if they went into it knowing that you would never be able to drink again for the rest of your life, then cool. Like if that was a disclaimer or in the contract in the beginning, with all the other rules that they go through. But to just bring it onto them at this point, I don't think that that's fair enough.
Yeah. I lived in Japan from like 2000 to 2003 when I was in high school, and this is not new. Like this is something they've been talking about for a very long time. I lived in Okinawa, so there was a lot of headache for the American government in Japan. First of all, they don't want, they love American presence there, and then they hate it at the same time. So they kind of want the American military kind of out of Osaka, and Osaka's the big Navy base. Okinawa's got the Army and the Marine Corps and the Air Force kind of there. But, there is this drunk, there's drunk driving happening, there's deaths happening, there's rape happening, there's a lot of things that just are headaches to the American military there, and then they have to deal with it, send them back, or somebody gets arrested off the base.
Yes, exactly.
And then they're dealing with an international situation. And I mean, these are grown-ups. I think that they deal with the consequences there just like they deal with them here. Maybe there should be like a
I think it's just be a moderation thing.
I think, but like, what can you say to people how do you tell people you can't drink, especially once they get on the base?
Yeah.
Because that's American soil.
Exactly.
Like that is their right to do whatever they want to do, when on their own personal time. And I think that's a very hard situation to put those guys in because even though, they're kids.
I know, I had me a glass of wine
20,
after work.
21. They're in Japan. They're fighting. Right now they're, especially when you're in Japan, you're not really in wars. You're doing lots of training. So, they're bored to tears and they're just wanting to have fun. They're in a foreign country. Like, what are they going to do? I don't know.
Drink.
So, they're going to drink. They're going to drink, and that's all they're going to do.
And so, lastly, guys, which is so sad, and it actually, I was pretty sad because it literally happened on the day I got married, was Muhammad Ali passed away. I'm like, what kind of sad news is that? And he passed away at the age 74. He was there surrounded by his 9 beautiful children and his wife. And his daughter, Layla Ali, of course, who, also was a boxer, she said that we sent him off in a very peaceful way. And so I just thought that was really, I know he's been really struggling with his disease for a very, very long time.
Yeah, he had some Parkinson's disease.
Very, very long time. And so I was really, I know they're saying that they're still getting the arrangements together for his funeral. He's Muslim, and so they're going to be doing that a different way. So
Friday.
Friday. So we definitely send his prayers out, and I'm just so sad. I'm like, everybody, first Prince.
Layla said that's what was so peaceful about it, because one of her sisters were saying like an Islamic prayer while while all of the children were going in. So I'm happy that they got to share that moment. Interesting enough, Kimbo Slice
also
passed away.
Yeah, passed away at the age of 42. Was that yesterday?
Yesterday. Last night? Yesterday, yeah.
So, it's just been one after the other.
2016 has been nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts with deaths. Can it just stop? We're only
and then
halfway
Prince's
through.
birthday was what, today?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Was it? Gosh, just so much going on.
50,
lot going on.
58 today.
Yeah.
58, and he looked like 30.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very, very sad, but we do definitely send our prayers out to Muhammad Ali and his family. And that is the trending topics going on around the world.
Well, listen, I want you guys to continue to follow tonight's election results. If you guys are watching live, if you're watching later on, you'll know what happens at
Tweet
the end
us.
of the night.
Yeah.
Tweet us.
Let us know your reactions.
BHL Polyculture. I will actually be hosting the Tony Awards night after show Sunday night on AfterBuzz. So at 10 o'clock. So make sure you guys are watching that. You can follow me at Drexel Heard.
You can follow me at Hey It's Lay.
And you can follow me at B Sorrells.
And we will see you all next week.
Bye.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African-American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.